you made it. Well, the doctors are in, and you're in luck. We're here to tell you about the meds you need to take.
We're not doctors.
All right, we're not doctors, but we are going to talk about meds. Not the kind that you pop in a pill form that lowers your cholesterol or some shit like that, but more so about minimum effective dose and what that really means and how you can utilize that in your training, especially if you're starting out. Roger, what do you think about this minimum effective dose and how can we describe it a little bit?
Well, the minimum effective dose is the least amount that you can do to make changes. The analogy I usually use is imagine you go to a doctor. You have a headache, and the doctor sends you into the back and gives you a morphine drip. Good doctor, bad doctor?
Well, in my young years maybe good, but now I certainly wiser and say it's bad doctor.
So the point is, maybe have a snack, drink some water, do some breathing, and if that doesn't work, maybe
Tylenol or
some Tylenol. But it's the tendency in the fitness industries to go too hard, too fast. Especially we're coming up into the new year, so it's kind of timely that we're talking about this. But minimum effective dose again is just simply what is the least amount that you can do to make the changes that you want.
All right, so that sounds great, but like the least amount I can do is next to nothing. So how do I find out what the right amount to do is, right?
So to be clear, you still have to work. You still have to push your body. But one of the most important things you can do is finding your maxes. Maxes with kettlebell training, a little easier in my experience. You get a big back squat or something, you put a bunch of weight on the bar. It doesn't work out, bad things can happen, same with the bench. When you're going for, let's say, a max military press, that bell's going up or it's not. Half the time you can't even clean it if it's not going up.
Sure.
So, people could you theoretically get injured? Yes, but, usually it's a tweak of the shoulder rather than, hey, I crushed my skull.
Yeah.
So we want to find our maxes. If we know what 100% is theoretically, we can begin to step down into ranges that we know are effective.
Yeah, so and one good thing, so say you're trying to figure out your max, and just to touch on, what's going up or it's not, using the 1-5-1 programming method for yourself will certainly set you up for a better spot right there. What about, when we do find that max, what percentages are we going to look into to really know that we're doing the right amount?
So I guess if we separate it into I'm brand new, I've got some experience, or I've got a more advanced goal. This minimum effective dose goes for people who are just starting out, or people who are, changing up their training. Maybe they were on a really heavy ballistics course and now they're getting into more grinds. I like to start with about 60%.
Okay.
When you're really, especially if you're starting out or if you're refining your technique, lighter weight means more skill. You really want to drive that skill home. The better you press, for example, the heavier you're going to press.
Right.
If your form is garbage, you're not going to get a ton of weight up. So 60%, depending upon how you rest, especially if you don't rest all that much, obviously you don't want to get too fatigued where your form is garbage. But let's say you don't rest much, you're going to get some hypertrophy. You'll get some size gains, which maybe that's what you want, or maybe that will translate into greater cross-sectional area, more strength later. But we can start with about 60%. Let's say you're a little more advanced, we can bump you up closer to that 75% range. And that's where you want to do a lot of your working reps. It's not so light where you're barely making changes, but it's also not so heavy that you're really stressing yourself out. If you're more advanced than that, you can bump up against that 80-95% range every now and then.
Yeah.
But still, the bulk of your reps are going to be in that 60 to 75% range, depending, obviously, are you really high endurance, are you really high strength, are you really experienced? But those are the ranges that I usually like to work with. And then I'll just throw medium, light, heavy day. And the medium, light, and heavy can both refer to the load that we use or the volume. So you can use in 1 week, let's say you want to use the same belt. That's all I'm using.
I only have one belt.
Okay, well.
So I only got the one.
Then your medium day is going to be in between your light and your heavy. So let's say randomly you pick your light day is going to be 30 reps. Your medium day is going to be 45 reps to 60 reps, and then your heavy day is going to be closer to 100 if you're going to a press. Right. And that's going to include both arms. So,
yeah. Okay. So taking those percentages that's based off finding your 1 rep max, which you said is probably relatively easy, in theory with a kettlebell as opposed to some of those powerlifting moves with
Sure.
barbells. And nailing that sweet spot and finding it all. When I want to go to that new max, then I'm going to probably get into a little bit more of a plan per se for those strength training days as opposed to just flowing with the minimum effective dose approach. Is that what you would suggest as well?
Sure. And by then you'll probably have a couple bells. So let's say you're working your max press.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got a goal.
I do.
So what is your goal?
My goal is to press a 48.
Okay.
My current max is 44, if that
Okay.
helps.
So if we're looking at ranges, what are your percentage bells in your different categories?
Yeah, so like if I was gonna take, the 40 is gonna be in that 85 to 95 range, the 36 is gonna be in that, I guess, 75 to 85 range, and then the 32 is gonna be in the, 70 to 75 range, maybe 65. But if I was gonna break it down in my minimum effective dose, then I would use my 28 kilo on my light days if I'm varying the load intensity, and then maybe on my mediums do a 32, and on my heavy days hit the 36, and just keep moving forward, which I actually have done, and it feels great, until I transition into a new program.
So and that works. The idea is what bells are in your given ranges. You do the movements that feel good. You're probably going to feel a little more tired when you're pushing that 40 up,
Yeah.
you're pushing that 36 up, but when you're sticking to your 28s and your 32s, you're getting a lot more volume. And volume is also something that's important. If let's say you're only training at the top of your ranges and you're going 36s and 40s, if you look at the total number, like let's say you look at your tonnage,
Yeah.
how much weight you're actually moving, if you're sticking to your 36 and your 40s, you're not getting many reps up in your workout.
Right.
And if you do, then you're burning yourself out, you're defeating the purpose. So maybe you're not getting as much weight per rep, but when you back off, you're sometimes doing double, triple the reps, you're getting in more volume, you're consistently sending that signal to your body, hey, I gotta change. So if your goal is to push that 48 up, you're not gonna go every time and press a 40 or a 44.
No.
In most cases,
Most
there could
cases.
be some specific plans where you do. If you're advanced, maybe you'll do that once a week, once every 2 weeks, but it's not going to be like, hey, I'm going to max out every day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so ultimately, that's very helpful, and I hope this helps you. Just even if you're stuck in a rut with your training, you're just trying to figure out a way. Remember, minimum effective dose. Just take your meds, find out your max. If you aren't able to find out your max with a single, find out your max with like a 6 or a 10 rep with the bell you have. There's many ways to do this. You can always message us for info on that. And otherwise, check out our website. Sign up for this newsletter. If you got it to the newsletter, great. If you didn't, if it was shared with you, sign up and get more content and stay strong.